Okay, here's something you probably haven't heard before. Did I really get a girl pregnant with my fingers? Yeah, I know it sounds completely nuts, and honestly I didn't believe it at first either. But that's exactly what this story is about. It started as a normal couple of dates with this girl I met, and somehow spiraled into her being convinced she's pregnant because of fingering. I mean, how does that even happen? It's like a biology lesson gone wrong mixed with a comedy of errors. If you're curious about how someone could think that's possible, or just want to hear a wild story filled with confusion, panic, and a bit of awkwardness, stick around. I'm going to tell you everything, from the first meeting to the crazy texts that followed. This one's a roller coaster. Trust me, you won't believe it until you hear it. Alright, let me introduce myself first. I'm a 20-year-old guy who's just trying to navigate the whole dating scene without too many face plants. I'm in college studying business, and honestly I'm pretty laid back. I like music, video games, and hanging out with my friends. On weekends, nothing too crazy. So one day I matched with this girl on a dating app. She was 19, which felt about right at the time. She seemed nice enough, a little shy but sweet. We started chatting and she was definitely eager to meet up. That's when some of the first weird things popped up. For example, she admitted she had zero experience with relationships and, get this, said she didn't even know how to kiss properly. That threw me off a bit, but I figured, hey, everyone starts somewhere. Maybe she just needed some help. So we set up a first date, and I was curious to see where things would go. Little did I know, that was just the beginning of a confusing roller coaster. So, our first date was pretty casual. We met at a small coffee shop downtown. She showed up a little nervous but smiling, and I could tell right away she was kind of inexperienced with this whole dating thing. We sat down with our drinks, and she kept fiddling with her phone, clearly unsure what to say at first. But as the conversation started flowing, I noticed she had this awkward charm. She asked a lot of questions, mostly about me, but she also shared little stories that made me realize she was kind of sheltered. For example, she told me she'd never been on a real date before and didn't even know how to kiss properly. That honestly threw me off. It was unexpected but also kind of endearing. I found myself trying to relax her and make things comfortable. We talked about music, school, and our families, and I could tell she wanted to impress me but didn't really know how. There wasn't much chemistry, but it wasn't bad either. More like we were two people feeling each other out, figuring out if we clicked. Toward the end, I tried to go in for a kiss, thinking maybe it would help break the ice. But she stopped me and admitted she wasn't sure what to do. So, I kind of awkwardly tried to teach her how to kiss. Which, in hindsight, was probably a red flag that she was way too young for me emotionally. But at the time, I thought maybe she just needed some guidance. Still, I wasn't totally sold on her. But I figured I'd give it one more shot. For our second date, we decided to hang out at my place. It felt more relaxed than the first time, and we both seemed more comfortable around each other. We started by watching a movie, but honestly neither of us really focused on it. We sat close together on the couch, chatting quietly, and a gentle tension grew between us. At one point she asked if I could help her. I understood she wanted some physical intimacy, but I was careful to be respectful. Before anything happened, I washed my hands thoroughly to make sure everything was clean. I hadn't touched anything that could cause concern, so I knew there was no risk. We took things slow, making sure she was comfortable the entire time. There was no rush or pressure, just a calm, cautious moment between us. Afterward, we both cleaned up quietly. There was no intercourse or other sexual contact beyond what she asked for. It felt like a small, private step for both of us. I thought we were on the same page, something casual and easy. But as she left, I noticed a strange look on her face, a mix of worry and confusion that didn't make sense to me then. Looking back, I realized that moment was the beginning of a situation I never expected. After that second date, neither of us reached out. I assumed she wasn't interested in continuing things. And honestly, I wasn't really feeling it either. It felt like a mutual fade out. No awkward goodbyes, no dramatic endings, just quiet distance. We didn't text or call, and weeks went by without any contact. There was no tension or conflict, no arguments or complaints. It seemed like whatever the connection we had was brief and simple, and neither of us was looking to push it further. I thought the whole thing was over and done with, just a short chapter in both our lives. There was nothing to worry about. At least, that's what I believed at the time. Then, a few weeks later, out of nowhere, I got a text from her. It wasn't casual or friendly. It was urgent and full of panic. She said her period was 3 weeks late, and she was scared. She was convinced she might be pregnant. The message caught me completely off guard. I had been certain there was no chance of that. After all, we hadn't had sex. Just the one time with fingering, and I'd been careful. But she had apparently been reading articles online that said pregnancy could happen from fingering if sperm was involved somehow. She was convinced that somehow, against all odds, she could be pregnant because of me. She kept sending me links and messages, desperate for reassurance. I told her calmly that it was almost impossible and that my hands hadn't touched anything like sperm that day. I tried to stay calm and reassure her, but she kept blowing up my phone. It was starting to get overwhelming. After she started texting me about her late period, She began sharing all sorts of articles and posts she had found online. According to these, there was a tiny chance that sperm left on fingers could cause pregnancy. She was convinced that somehow, if sperm got onto her fingers and then she touched herself, it could lead to pregnancy even without intercourse. The more I tried to explain how unlikely that was, the more she seemed to dig in her heels, clinging to these scary stories as proof. She described how she was feeling: sore breasts, occasional nausea, and a weird sense of tiredness. She was convinced these symptoms meant something was seriously wrong, that she was actually pregnant. Every little ache or twinge became a sign pointing to that scary possibility. I tried to remind her that those symptoms can happen for lots of reasons, stress included, but she was too worried to listen. Her fear grew stronger with every message. She talked about how she felt trapped by the situation, unsure what to do, or who to talk to. I could hear the panic in her words, but also the confusion. It was hard to take her seriously when her logic was so flawed. After all, sperm on fingers can't survive long enough or travel inside the body in a way that would cause pregnancy. But at the same time, it was clear she genuinely believed this was happening to her, that the whole thing was surreal, like watching someone spin a wild story that didn't add up but still felt very real to them. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or feel bad, but mostly I just wanted to help her calm down when she first brought up the idea that she might be pregnant from fingering. I was honestly confused. I wanted to stay calm and not freak out, so I tried to explain the biology as clearly as I could. I told her that sperm can't survive long outside the body, especially if it's been on hands that haven't come into direct contact with it. I reminded her that I was careful that night. I washed my hands thoroughly before anything happened, and there was no way sperm could have been involved. I also offered to buy her a pregnancy test to help put her mind at ease. I thought a simple test would clear everything up quickly, but instead of calming down, she seemed to get more anxious. The texts kept coming, and it felt like the more I explained, the less she believed me. I was starting to feel overwhelmed by the constant messages and pressure. I wanted to help, but it was hard to keep up when she was so convinced something impossible was happening. At times, I wondered if she was just trying to trap me into something, but mostly, I just felt stuck in a situation I never signed up for. As the days went on, her messages became more intense. She started accusing me of being irresponsible and careless, even though I knew I had been cautious the entire time. She told me that if she really was pregnant, I needed to step up and take responsibility. Her tone shifted from scared to demanding, and the pressure was mounting. She would text me multiple times a day, sometimes late at night, insisting I respond and reassure her. When I tried to explain again that it was almost impossible for her to be pregnant from what happened, she dismissed it and said I was just avoiding the issue. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, trying to keep her calm while also protecting myself. The situation was exhausting. What started as a casual fling had turned into a stressful, ongoing drama that I hadn't wanted. I wanted to do the right thing, but the constant accusations and panic made it difficult. I didn't know how to get through to her or make her see that she was mistaken, and I was starting to dread every new message. I decided to talk to some of my friends about what was happening, hoping to get some advice or at least a different perspective. As I explained the situation, how she thought she might be pregnant from fingering, some of them immediately burst out laughing. They thought the whole idea was ridiculous and couldn't believe someone could actually believe that. They found the situation hilarious but also a little unbelievable. On the other hand, a few friends took a more serious tone. They told me I should be more empathetic and try to understand how scared she was, even if her fears didn't make much sense. They said that ignoring her or brushing it off might make things worse and suggested I try to be more patient. Hearing these different opinions made me question myself. Was I being a jerk by getting annoyed and ignoring her texts? Or was I just done dealing with something that didn't feel real? The conflicting advice left me feeling torn. I didn't want to hurt her, but I also didn't want to be dragged into drama I hadn't signed up for. It was hard to know what the right move was. To better understand what she was saying, I started reading up on the topic myself. I went down a rabbit hole of Reddit threads, science articles, and medical websites. Almost everything I found confirmed what I already thought. Fingering alone couldn't cause pregnancy unless there was direct contact with sperm, and even then, the chance is extremely low. The biology was clear. Sperm can't survive long outside the body, and it's nearly impossible for sperm on fingers to cause pregnancy. This research helped reinforce my own logic and gave me more confidence in what I had been telling her at the same time. Reading about people's stories and fears online made me realize she wasn't alone in being confused about this stuff. Many others had similar misunderstandings. It made me a little more sympathetic, even if I still found the whole situation frustrating. This internet deep dive helped me see things more clearly and stay calm. After weeks of non-stop messages and growing pressure, I started ignoring her texts. At first, I told myself it was just to give both of us some space, a way to let things cool down. I figured if I responded less, maybe she'd calm down too. But soon, it became clear I was just burnt out emotionally. The constant panic, the accusations, and the endless questions were exhausting. I didn't have the energy to keep reassuring her over and over. I justified ghosting by telling myself she needed to stop obsessing and take responsibility for calming down herself. I wasn't avoiding her because I didn't care. I just didn't know how else to handle the situation. Ignoring her felt like the only way to protect my own peace of mind. Still, part of me felt guilty. I worried I might be making things worse by shutting her out. But every time I tried to engage, it only made her more anxious. It was a vicious cycle, and I needed out. After a few days of silence, I sent one last message. I kept it calm and straightforward, repeating that the chance of pregnancy from fingering was basically zero. I offered again to buy her a pregnancy test, hoping that a clear answer might finally put everything to rest. I wanted to be fair and show that I wasn't just brushing her off. She either left the message on read or replied with something vague and cryptic. Nothing clear or helpful. That was the final straw for me. I realized I couldn't keep going in circles like this. No matter what I said or did, she wasn't ready to listen or calm down. I decided to step away completely. It was tough, but I had to put my own mental health first. Sometimes, no matter how much you want to help, you have to know when to walk away. Looking back, I can't help but wonder if I was the asshole in this whole mess. I tried to stay calm and explain the facts, but maybe I was too harsh or dismissive when she was clearly scared. Her panic felt over the top and honestly kind of absurd, but fear is fear. It's not always logical. At the same time, I worried her constant worrying was becoming unhealthy, even dangerous for her mental state. I didn't want to feed into her anxiety by indulging every message, but ignoring her felt wrong too. It was a no-win situation. Maybe I should have been more patient, but there was a limit to what I could handle emotionally. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just didn't know how else to deal with something so strange and stressful. Was I selfish for protecting my peace of mind? Or was she unreasonable for blaming me for something impossible? Honestly, I'm still torn. I'd appreciate hearing what others think about this. Commenter 1. Wait, people actually believe you can get pregnant from fingers. What's next? Pregnancy from a handshake. Commenter 2. NTA, you handled it better than most. She needed a reality check, but also a calm voice. Sounds like she's the one who needs to read a biology textbook. Commenter 3. Honestly, I'm here for the drama, but also side-eyeing her panic. The internet can be a dangerous place for misinformation. Glad you tried to help with a test offer. Commenter 4. Imagine freaking out over fingering like it's a science experiment gone wrong. At least you didn't ghost immediately. Some guys would have bounced right away. Commenter 5. YTA for ghosting. But honestly, who can blame you? Emotional burnout is real. She could have been less intense. 2. Commenter 6. This reminds me of when my cousin thought eating chocolate caused pregnancy. Misinformation is wild. Op did fine, but she needs therapy, not drama. Overall, the community seems to agree that Op isn't the asshole, but that the situation was awkward and stressful for everyone involved. They suggest more empathy but also practical boundaries. So, here's the verdict: no buttholes here. This situation wasn't about anyone being mean or careless. It was mostly a case of bad sex education and misunderstanding. Op did what he could to explain the facts calmly, offered support, and tried to keep things respectful. On the other hand, the girl's panic, while misplaced, showed how important it is to have accurate information about sexual health. The real takeaway: communication and education matter more than ever. If she had understood how pregnancy actually works, this whole drama could have been avoided. And if Opie had maybe approached her fears with a little more patience from the start, it may have helped too. But it's clear that neither of them was prepared for this weird, stressful situation at the end of the day. This story highlights how misinformation can spiral out of control, especially when mixed with fear and anxiety. It's a reminder to seek reliable sources, stay calm, and keep open, honest conversations going. If you're ever confused about something serious like this, get a test, ask a professional, and don't rely on panic or random internet articles.
That wraps up today's episode of r/Payback. If you enjoyed the ride, don't forget to subscribe for more epic stories.